The unbelievable love story of the paralyzed widow and the lonely rancher stronger together forever. In the desolate stretch of the Wild West, where whispers of legends blend with the cruel winds, a tale begins that will grip your very soul. Imagine, if you can, a paralyzed widow, bound to her wooden chair, her heart still beating fiercely against her odds. This is no ordinary story of love, it's an electric spark ignited in the shadows. Her name? Clara, as radiant as the morning sun yet hidden behind clouds of sorrow. Her cobalt blue eyes, lit like twin lanterns, flicker with desperation and longing, hungry for a connection in her lonely world, and then, there's Jake, a rugged rancher with hands calloused from hard labor, a heart untouched until Clara's spirit awakened it. His life once echoed with silence, only the plaintive cry of a distant coyote punctuating his solitude. The moment he crossed Clara's path, it was as if fate's hammer struck, forging an unbreakable bond. But fate, as always, has its wicked ways, pulling strings in unexpected directions. The air crackled with mystique, ominous whispers surrounded their growing connection. It happened on a moonless night when Jake heard a peculiar sound outside his ranch, a soft, sorrowful song. It beckoned him into the dark, pulling him toward a secret he couldn't fathom. The night hid more than shadows, it held Clara's past, a place of pain and betrayal. What had happened to her? Why was she unable to walk? The questions gnawed at him, insatiable and relentless. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jake couldn't shake the feeling. The mystery deepened. Clara's laughter rang like a bell that sent chills down his spine. There was magic in her presence, a dark enchantment that defied the cruel hand life dealt her. Could he save her from her ghosts? Or was he to become another shadow in her haunted past? As they grew closer, a glimmer of hope appeared to pierce the heavy fog of doubt. But the deeper they ventured into this uncharted territory of love and healing, the more secrets emerged from the darkness. Silence descended, thick and suffocating, as if the world held its breath. Could love really triumph over the deepest of scars? When Clara's history unexpectedly unfurled, would it shatter what they had begun to build, or could it forge them stronger? This was just the beginning, and the true test was yet to come. The night air was thick with apprehension. Jake stood on the edge of his porch, the world around him cloaked in eerie darkness. The song lingered in his ears, a haunting lullaby that seemed to weave through the shadows, beckoning him to discover its source. His heart raced as he felt an irresistible pull in the wind, a beckoning whisper that stirred something primal within him. He took a cautious step forward, his boots crunching against the gravel. Each sound felt amplified in the thick silence, as if the world was holding its breath. Salty sweat trickled down his brow as he thought of Clara, her delicate face framed by strands of wild hair, her eyes igniting a fire he never knew he possessed. It was Clara, bound to her chair yet fiercely defiant against the world that had forsaken her. What story did she carry? A thunderstorm brewed in his chest. As he moved further from the glow of his home, a shroud of fear wrapped around him. But something deeper than fear compelled him onward. He would not only conquer his own demons but unravel Clara's past that seemed intertwined with his own fate. Suddenly, a rustle in the underbrush made him halt. Panic shot through him like wildfire. Thoughts of Clara flooded his mind, a flicker of courage ignited as he drew in a deep breath. With the breeze tugging at his shirt, he called out defiantly, "Who's there?" Silence. Jake squinted into the murkiness, his instincts sharpening. He could feel it, the weight of unseen eyes upon him. Then, from the depths of the night, a silhouette emerged. The figure was dark and reflexive of the shadows surrounding them, and for a moment, fear gripped his heart like a vice. The figure stepped closer, and the voice that accompanied it wrapped around him, smooth yet laced with malice. "You seek the past, rancher." He froze as chill ran through him like ice water. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice a pure growl, matching the tension in his veins. "I carry the stories," the figure replied, stepping into the dim moonlight that peeked through heavy clouds. It revealed a man, his face carved by years and shadowed by secrets. "And I know of her, the one you love." Jake's fists clenched. "What do you know about Clara?" A slight smirk twisted the stranger's lips. "A paralyzed widow is not all she seems. Love is a fragile thread, rancher. If cut, it will unravel stories that suffocate." The words hung heavy in the air, dripping with foreboding. Jake felt his breath catch, realization racing through him like a runaway horse. "What do you mean?" he pressed, panic flaring in his chest. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the night. The sound reverberated through his bones, a cry belonging to Clara, raw and filled with anguish. It sliced through Jake, igniting a primal urge to protect, to shield. "Enough games. You will tell me what you know." His voice thundered as adrenaline surged, but the figure only chuckled softly. "Dig deep enough, and the truth will surface, rancher. But be warned, a heart in the dark may reveal shadows better left in silence." With that, the figure dissolved into the night, leaving only echoes of his cryptic warning ringing in Jake's ears. Heart racing, he sprinted back to his cabin, dread coiling around his gut. In those moments, every heartbeat echoed Clara's name like an urgent prayer, and he knew, deep down, he would have to confront the shadows of the past. What if Clara's history was somehow linked to the stranger? What secrets lingered just beyond their reach? As Jake burst into the cabin, the darkness pressed in, and he found Clara staring at him with wide, frightened eyes, the importance of their journey now etched into the very fabric of their souls. He had to find the chance to unearth her truth, but would the quest set them free or bind them further in chains of heartbreak? The ground beneath them began to shift, and with it, threads of fate intertwined, propelling them toward an unprecedented confrontation. As her blue eyes searched his, he knew the moment had come to face the haunting legacy that interwove their destinies. What secrets lingered in the echoes of her past? The answers were coming, and soon, Clara would have to choose love or the truth that could tear them apart. The wind howled outside, rattling the old wooden walls of the cabin like a specter seeking entry. Jake stood frozen, torn between the warmth of Clara's gaze and the urgent need to unravel the darkness that had just swept through his life. Her lips quivered, and Jake could sense the chilling uncertainty hanging in the air, thick as fog. "Jake." Clara's voice broke, barely a whisper. "What happened out there?" He swallowed hard, struggling to articulate the chaos of emotions roiling within him. "I met someone, a man. He knew about you, about your past." The words felt foreign and heavy as they tumbled from his lips. Clara's eyes widened, a mix of fear and confusion washing over her. "What did he say? What does he know?" An instinctive protectiveness surged within Jake. "He said you're not who you seem. That your love, a fragile thread, could lead to truth or ruin." He stepped closer to her, crouching low to meet her gaze directly. "Clara, we need to confront this. Are you ready?" Her brow furrowed, and she shook her head slowly, every motion tinged with the weight of their shared burden. I don't want to dig up the past. It's locked away for a reason. But what if the key lies in facing it?" Jake urged, desperation creeping in as he battled against the brewing storm of uncertainty. He reached for her frail hand, squeezing it gently, grounding them both. "What if it sets you free?" The faintest flicker of hope brightened Clara's eyes. "And if it doesn't? Then I'll be here with you." It was a promise he intended to keep, even as the ground beneath their lives felt uncertain and shifting. Suddenly, a loud crash from outside shattered the moment, rattling the windows. Clara gasped, her hands trembling. What was that? Jake's heartbeat quickened, urgency sparking in his veins. "Stay put." He bolted toward the door, glancing back to reassure her with a nod. Hesitation hung between them, the unspoken promise of safety morphing into the terror that uncertainty brings. He flung the door open, and the night greeted him with a gust of cold air, thick with the scent of rain about to fall. Dark clouds loomed above like vultures, circling ominously. As Jake stepped into the night, the woods appeared alive, branches creaking like the bony fingers of the unknown reaching for him. He scanned the horizon, searching for the source of the disturbance, when suddenly, movement caught his eye. A figure darted between the trees, cloaked in shadows. "Hey!" Jake called out, his voice booming against the stillness. "Show yourself." There was no answer, only a rustling noise, quick and frantic. Fear gripped him again. The stranger? Had he returned? Or worse, had someone come to harm Clara? He felt his chest tighten at the thought, plunging deeper into the darkness, heart pounding like thunder in his ears. The shadows danced, and something glimmered in the moonlight. A small object lay half buried in the gravel. Jake approached cautiously, and his stomach churned as he realized it was Clara's locket. He reached down to pick it up, flipping it open. Inside, a faded photograph stared back at him, an image not just of Clara but of another woman he didn't recognize. A chill ran through him, a sense of foreboding settling thickly in the air. Just then, Clara's voice called out behind him, panic lacing her tone. "Jake! Come back!" He turned, heart racing, his mind spiraling. The locket dangled between his fingers like a cruel omen, revealing a connection he hadn't anticipated. Could Clara's past taint their future? With the piece of evidence heavy in his palm, Jake realized they had no choice but to face whatever was haunting them. He sprinted back to her, breathless and trembling. "Clara," he gasped, "we need to talk. There's something I found." But a louder sound interrupted him, footsteps approaching, fast and relentless. Jake's heart sank as he turned to face the sound. Who was out there? What were they willing to uncover, and what price would they pay for the truth? Jake's instincts screamed at him to get back to Clara, to shield her from whatever menace lurked in the darkness. But as he turned, the footsteps grew louder, more hurried. He squinted into the gloom, clenching the locket tightly in his fist, its weight a haunting reminder of what lay ahead. "Clara!" he shouted, each syllable heavy with urgency. His heart raced as he took a step closer to the cabin, wanting nothing more than to envelop Clara in his arms and keep her safe. But from the thicket of trees, a figure emerged, tall, shrouded in shadows, and decidedly too familiar. Jake, it was her voice that broke through the night, a second layer of shock added to the mix. "Get inside. Now." Every nerve in his body screamed in protest. There was something about the stance of the figure that felt dangerously personal. "Is it you?" Jake murmured, barely able to form the words. The figure stepped forward, less shadowy but still indistinct in the moonlight. "You should have never gotten involved with her," it hissed, a low growl that sent a shiver down his spine. "You have no idea what danger you're putting yourself in." Jake's heart thudded painfully against his ribs as he recognized the voice. "What do you want?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. "Who are you?" The figure moved closer, the features coming into focus. It was a man, but his face was lost in the shadows, only illuminated by a flash of memory, a brief encounter that felt like a nightmare. "I told you to stay away," he said, and it was clear this wasn't just a threat, it was a warning. With no time to process, Jake stumbled back toward the cabin, every instinct telling him to guard Clara. He could feel the locket burning against his palm, a secret that threatened to unravel everything they built together. "Clara!" he yelled again, his voice tinged with desperation. Inside, Clara was pacing. Her expression morphed from fear to confusion as he rushed through the door. "What is going on, Jake? Who was that?" Jake locked the door behind him, the sound echoing in the small cabin. "It's him, the man I met in the woods." He's back. Clara's face paled, her body stiffening. "What does he want?" His love for her battled against the weight of the truth resting in the locket. He held it out, nostalgia and dread battling within him. He knows things you haven't told me. Clara's eyes flickered nervously as she reached for the locket. Jake, please, there are reasons I've buried my past. Then let us dig it up together, he insisted, the determination flooding his voice. Just as he finished, the cabin shook as another crash echoed outside. What was that? Clara gasped, her eyes wide. I don't know, but we can't stay trapped in here. We need to confront whatever is haunting us, Jake urged. Clara's gaze hardened, and she nodded slowly, resolutely. All right. But if we do this, we need to face everything. No more secrets. No more hiding. The decision hung heavy between them, a tenuous pact forged in fear and courage. As they moved to the window, scanning the darkness beyond the glass, another figure could be seen watching them, illuminated by a flash of lightning. Her heart raced, dread crashed over her like the coming storm. Jake turned to her, his expression a mix of resolve and anxiety. Whatever's out there, we'll face it. Together. Just then, Clara gasped, pulling away from the window. What if it's not just the man you saw? What if there are others? What if the wind howled again, a screech that silenced their fears and summoned something deeper, something they couldn't ignore? As the door rattled and the shadows shifted, Jake took a step toward reality, the unknown, the truth, and the price they were about to pay for it. Clara, he said, his voice low and steady, do you trust me? She nodded, her eyes fierce amidst her growing fear. Then let us find out who's out there, once and for all. But just as they prepared to face the night, a deafening crash broke through the silence. The window shattered, and a new presence poured into the cabin, turning their worlds upside down. With the locket still clutched tightly in hand, Jake braced for what was coming. What they would discover from here would change everything forever. The night erupted into chaos. Glass shards sprayed across the floor, casting tiny, glittering stars in the dark cabin. Jake's instincts kicked in, adrenaline surging through his veins as he instinctively moved to shield Clara behind him. Every beat of his heart drummed with the unrelenting threat advancing on them. Stay back! He shouted, voice steady yet laced with urgency, as he squinted into the jagged opening where the window once stood. A figure stepped into the cabin, silhouetted against the stormy night beyond. Rain dripped from the brim of a hat, pooling on the floor in quicksilver droplets. The figure's gaze locked onto Jake, piercing through the shadows with an intensity that made his skin crawl. Don't you dare touch her! Jake shouted, putting himself between Clara and the intruder. The man chuckled darkly, a sound that rattled Jake to the core. You misunderstand, Jake. This isn't about you. It's about her. What do you want? Clara asked, voice trembling as she stepped beside Jake, a fire igniting in her eyes. Who sent you? The man took a calculated step forward, finally stepping into the faint glow cast by the dying fire. Jake recognized his face now, a twisted mask of malice. You're not safe here, Clara, he said, a cruel smirk twisting his lips. And trust me, neither is he. Why? What do you know about us? Jake stepped forward, ready to fight. It's not what I know. It's what you don't know, the man hissed, fingers tapping the hilt of a knife at his side. Secrets run deeper than blood in this place. There are connections, people who want to let you walk away. Clara's breath quickened, the truth evident in her eyes. Jake, we have to listen. This isn't just random. It's about my past and it's come to find us. Shut up. The stranger snapped. You don't get to keep your past buried, Clara. It'll tear you apart. Jake felt the weight of her secret pressing between them like a stone, yet he refused to give in to fear. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. You want to scare us. Another crash echoed from outside, the sound of heavy footsteps approaching the cabin. Jake noticed a flicker of concern cross the man's face. This isn't just about me anymore. They know what she is, he spat, stepping back toward the shattered window, ready to vanish into the storm. Wait. Jake lunged forward, grabbing the man's arm. Tell me what you know. But the man jerked free. You've opened the door to hell, and hell is coming for you both. With that, he slipped into the dark, leaving only thunder and rain crashing against the cabin in his wake. Jake! Clara gasped, her hand trembling as it clasped his arm. What does he mean? What have we unleashed? Heart racing, Jake turned to Clara, seeing fear etched across her face. I don't know, but we need to prepare. We need to find out what's coming. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed through the trees, a sound both feral and resonant. It sent icy tendrils of fear into Jake's gut. We can't stay here. We need to find a way out or stand and fight. Clara grasped the locket like a lifeline, her expression resolute yet uncertain. If we're facing this together, then I need to tell you everything. No more secrets. As she spoke, however, another crash sounded, this time closer, vibrating through the floor beneath them. There was no turning back now. They were caught in a web of danger, and the night only grew darker around them. What if it's too late? Jake whispered, almost to himself. Clara squeezed his hand, her eyes aflame with determination. Then let us make sure they regret ever coming for us. Just as they gathered their courage, a shadow loomed just beyond the doorway, a haunting silhouette vibrating with menace. Someone was definitely coming, and this time, it might just be someone from the past, whoever they weren't going to stop until they got what they wanted. Jake's heart pounded in anticipation. What awaited them just outside the threshold? The door creaked ominously as the shadow stepped closer, a hefty figure partly obscured by the curtain of rain. Jake squared his shoulders, every instinct screaming for him to protect Clara at all costs. He could see hints of movement, a hand, a flash of steel reflecting dim light. Panic surged, but he fought it back, focusing on Clara's face. Stay close, he murmured, drawing her in tighter beside him. The figure came into view, the glint of a weapon unmistakable. It was a woman, her features sharp and fierce against the chaotic backdrop. Her eyes blazed with an unsettling mix of resolve and desperation. Get away from her! She yelled, advancing boldly into the cabin's dim light. Wait! No! Jake's voice broke with urgency. We're not your enemies. The woman hesitated, seeming to weigh his words carefully. Then you know about the others? She threw a quick glance over her shoulder, a sure sign they were not alone. Clara stepped forward, confusion spiraling within her. What others? Who sent you? As the woman opened her mouth to reply, they heard a low growl reverberate through the trees, echoing like a death knell. The growl morphed into a roar, sending shivers racing down Jake's spine. It was much closer now, a primal sound that rattled the very bones of the cabin. We have to move. Clara shot a glance toward Jake, fear taking hold anew. No. The woman's voice sliced through the tension. If you go out there, you'll lead them straight to her. You need to know why they're coming for you first. What do you mean? Jake asked, gripping Clara's hand tighter. Who are they? They're creatures of the night, the woman growled, her jaw tense. They hunt those like Clara. They'll sniff you out, find the fear in you, and take advantage. But you don't understand. There's more than that at play. Before she could finish, the door burst open, slamming against the wall with a force that shook the cabin. Wind howled inside, drenching the wooden floor with rain. Shadows poured in like a flood, moving with a mind of their own. A frenzied panic erupted as figures clawed their way into view, shallow breathing, wild eyes. They were the embodiment of nightmares, gaunt and shimmering with malevolence. The light from the fire flickered, playing tricks with the shadows, casting horrid shapes across the room. Stay back! Jake shouted, pushing Clara behind him again, heart racing. He could practically taste the terror in the air. He's not one of us. One of the creatures hissed, a voice that crawled under Jake's skin. "You've protected the girl too long. It ends tonight." Clara shrieked, tugging at Jake's arm. "We can't let them take me. I want to go back." "What does that mean?" Jake barked, desperate for clarity amidst the chaos. The woman stepped forward, unafraid. "Your past is a price they demand. You need to confront it." She turned toward the creatures, fists raised, defiant. "You want her? Then you have to go through me." Jake felt the electricity of the moment, the pull of duty versus the gnawing fear of the unimaginable reality before them. "Clara, whatever it is," he began, but the words fell flat as one of the creatures lunged, aiming for Clara. Everything exploded in chaos, the air blistered with raw energy, shouts mingling with growls. Jake felt the world around him tip, the unity he and Clara had managed to grasp threatened by the darkness that surrounded them. "Hold on!" he yelled, launching himself forward. But he had no idea if they could truly fight back against the unknown or if it was already too late, and as the cabin filled with darkness, a storm of primal fury unchained, Jake's mind raced. What in the world was coming for Clara? They had to find out now. The chaos swallowed them whole. Shadows writhed, clawing at the edges of the flickering firelight, looming closer. Jake lunged, adrenaline surging in his veins, pushing back against the jagged teeth of despair. Clara's panicked breaths filled his ears as the creature darted toward her. "Get down!" Jake roared, his body a shield as he barreled into the intruder. The impact jolted them, knocking the creature to the floor, but it snarled, eyes glinting with hatred. "Clara, stay behind me!" he shouted, grappling with its spindly arms. The thing smelled of wet earth and decay, but he fought through the disgust, wrestling to keep it from his friend. Clara's scream clawed at him, the terror suffocating. She was fighting against her instincts to flee, wanting to help. "I can't just watch. No." he barked, locking eyes with her. "You need to listen to me. Trust me." With a desperate twist, Jake flung the creature off him, sending it crashing into the nearby wall. It screeched, a horrible blend of fury and pain, and Jake turned just in time to see another one creeping through the broken door, filling the space with its howling presence. "Behind you!" the woman shouted, lunging forward. She swung her weapon. He had no idea where it had come from, clashing against the second creature. The two collided like thunder against the walls, sending splinters flying. Jake reeled, heart pounding, instinctively protecting Clara as he pulled her down onto the floor. He couldn't bear the thought of losing her. "Where are they coming from?" Clara's voice trembled, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "They want something. I don't know what, but we can't let them take you." The woman barely caught her breath, her focus split between the melee and Clara. "You don't remember, do you? What are you talking about?" Jake seethed, frustration bubbling within him. "The price they demand," she shouted, her voice breaking in intensity. "Clara's past. You have to help her remember." A third creature slinked through the chaos, a menacing smile cutting across its face, revealing jagged teeth. It locked eyes with Jake, a knowing look that chilled him to the core. Something familiar about that gaze set alarms ringing in his head. "Enough!" it hissed, advancing with predatory grace. "We'll take her whether you cooperate or not." The air was thick with tension. Jake felt it closing in, squeezing around him, turning his fingers numb. What could Clara have done to deserve this? He couldn't let fear take hold. He had to take action. "Clara," he breathed, frantically searching for a way to bridge the gap between them. "Tell me. What are they after? What do they know?" The chaos simmered, and for a heartbeat, all strength seemed to drain from the room. Clara's face twisted with confusion and terror. I don't know. There are fragments. Flashes a name. Give it to me. Please. And you," the creature spat, a jeer lacing its voice, you're just a coward hiding behind your little girl. Shut up. Jake glanced at the woman, whose fight seemed far from over. He could sense she knew more, that there were layers to the truth they hadn't yet unearthed. Clara's gaze locked onto the creature, her eyes suddenly alight with defiance. Fight back. She yelled, pulling free from Jake's hold. We don't have to go anywhere. I want to let you. The flicker of hope in her voice rose above the cacophony, igniting a fire inside Jake. Maybe Clara did have strength, a spark ready to ignite. Before he could forge another plan, a shriek interrupted them, a wail that shattered the moment. The woman tumbled backward, blood smeared across her face, shock swirling in her expression. Stay back. Jake shouted, rising to confront the advancing creatures, adrenaline flooding his system. He felt alive, determined to fight alongside Clara against the darkness that threatened to consume them, fighting alongside her to regain what was lost. But what if the darkness had some truth to it? What if, somewhere deep down, Clara really was connected to the horrors unfolding around them? The ground shook as more creatures gathered outside. The night held its breath, punctuated by silence before the storm. How much were they willing to risk, and at what cost, to uncover the truth that lay buried within Clara's past? Jake's heart raced, the noise of the world fading to a thick, oppressive hum around him. The momentarily triumphant glint in Clara's eyes was a stark contrast to the rapidly closing darkness, as if her courage had reignited a flame that the encroaching shadows sought to extinguish. The woman hit the ground hard, her breaths pained and heavy. Jake shot a glance back at her, torn between rushing to help and shielding Clara from danger. But with a swift glance from the sidelines, he saw the hard-set determination on the woman's face. She was ready to fight. She made her choice. Jake. Clara's sharp voice cut through the chaos, forcing him to redirect his focus. The name. She hesitated, a faraway look clouding her eyes. It's not just a name. It's a memory. I can almost see it. Then dig deeper. He urged, the need for clarity ripping at him. They want you to forget. You have to hold on to that thought. With that, he faced the advancing creatures, the scent of decay thicker in the air. He lunged at the first one, fists ready to strike, but it twisted away, its movements deceptively fluid. Pathetic, sneered the creature, as it darted back out of reach. You think you can save her? From the corner of his eye, he caught Clara wincing. The shadows flickered menacingly around them, urging him forward. Get ready, he shouted, tightening his grip around a jagged piece of wood on the floor, raised from the destruction around him. Clara's expression hardened, and for the first time, she took a step forward, as if tethered to a distant anchor she could barely grasp. I remember. I remember the pain. It's all tied to them. They want me for what I owe. Jake's heart sank at her words. Could it be true? Did Clara's past hold the key? What do you mean? He asked, his voice trembling. They come for the choices I made, for the life I left. I think I owed them something. The shadows seemed to close in tighter, their claws scraping against the walls. The creatures laughed, echoing in the dim light, a sound sharp enough to slice through his resolve. Exactly. An old debt, coming back to collect. Shut up. Jake roared, swinging wildly at the nearest shadow. They were more than just monsters, they embodied the fear of failure, of losing Clara. Each strike felt futile, and he could see Clara unraveling further into the depths of her doubts. Focus. He barked, gripping her shoulders tightly. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Just hold on. I don't know if I can. She cried, tears welling in her eyes. Emotion ebbed and flowed in waves, threatening to drown her will to fight. Trust me. He shouted, frustration clawing at his chest. Fight. You have strength. Remember us. The moment seemed to hang, suspended like a still photograph in his mind. A flicker of recognition sparked within Clara. Her breath hitched, and the shadows paused for an instant uncertain, as if sensing the shift. But before Jake could fully grasp what was happening, a sudden crash echoed from the door. A new creature, larger and more grotesque than the others, burst through the rubble, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. This one didn't whisper, it roared, a guttural, primal sound that rattled their bones. You cannot escape what you are. Jake felt as if the floor beneath him swayed, destabilizing his resolve. Clara gasped, but that gasp shifted into something fiercely defiant. She stepped ahead of him, arms lifted, as if summoning energy from the very earth beneath them. Let us see you try. She yelled, the fire in her voice igniting a spark in Jake's heart, but as tension pooled in the air, Jake felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. What was he fighting for? Would the shadows really relent? Only when the truth is claimed, the massive creature taunted, its grin splitting its face. How much truth could Clara bear? How much darkness lingered in her past? A tremor of doubt flickered in Jake's heart, they were teetering on the edge. What awaited them in that abyss of forgotten memories? Could they truly uncover what lay buried, and if so, what would it cost them both to confront their demons? The massive creature advanced, the malevolence radiating from it like heat from a furnace. Clara's defiance solidified the air around them, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling that strength alone might not be enough. Clara, remember. Your memories, think about them. What did you owe? He shouted, closing the distance between them as the ground trembled. Sweat dripped from his brow, stinging his eyes. The shadows crept closer, swirling with hunger. I know. I know. Clara shouted back, her voice echoing with determination. But what does it matter now if I can't recall the details? It's all lost in the dark. Then bring it into the light. Jake urged, gripping her hand tight. They were a unit now, bonded against the tide of darkness. With a mighty roar, the creature lunged forward, its claws slashing through the air. Jake barely dodged, adrenaline surging through his veins as he threw the jagged piece of wood. It struck the beast, but like a mosquito bite to a bear, it only angered it more. Foolish child, the creature hissed, flicking its gaze toward Clara. You will find no salvation here. With a rush of energy, Clara lifted her arms higher, her gaze piercing the night. You don't understand. She screamed, her voice resonating through the chaos. I am not who I once was. I can change. I can break free. Like a bolt of lightning, the shadows recoiled, wavering at her rippling conviction. Jake watched the shadows dance, unsure of what to feel, a thread of hope stitching itself into the fray. Clara, keep pushing. He yelled, rallying behind her. You have the power. I need a name. She stammered, squeezing Jake's hand tighter, her fingers shaking with fear and strength. It was something umbilical to my past. The creature snarled, its ghastly visage contorting with rage. Your past is a chain. You can't break what binds you. Shut up. She barked, spurred on by Jake's resolve. Across the room, Clara could feel the weight of memories clawing at her heart, drowning her in a tide of regret. But then, in the dark corners of her mind, one name emerged like an anchor in a storm. Eric. She gasped, the name spilling forth, soaked in history and pain. The shadows hesitated, rippling as if afraid. Jake turned to Clara, his heart racing in tempo with her breaths. Who is he? My brother, she whispered, the connection lighting up her face. He had a life one I left behind. I didn't save him. The creatures shrieked in agony, twisting as if the name had burned them. The shadows reeled as if struck by a wave, revealing luminous fragments of Clara's memories floating to the surface. Use it. Bind them with it. Jake shouted, clutching her hand as if anchoring her. With newfound vigor, Clara shouted Eric's name again. Eric. I couldn't save you. I see it now. I'm here. I'm fighting. The impact was instantaneous. A powerful light emitted from Clara, washing over everything. The shadows screeched, their forms beginning to disintegrate, whirling into nothingness, but as the light grew brighter, the massive creature, now enraged, charged forward, seemingly unfazed. "You think a name can save you?" it bellowed. "You're forgetting your debt." "No." Clara screamed, defiance spilling from her tongue like fire. "I am reclaiming my life." But even as she stood firm, the creature lunged, and in that moment, doubt gnawed at Jake's heart. Was that enough? Before he could process the reality of what might happen next, the creature crashed into Clara, sending them both sprawling to the ground amidst a storm of shadows and flashing light. "Clara!" Jake bellowed, racing forward in a blind panic, but just as he reached her, an explosion of darkness erupted, swallowing them whole. For a heartbeat, everything was dark. Would they surface from this abyss together, or would it claim him forever? Questions echoed around him, layering the heavy silence. Was the truth really enough? The world around Jake blurred, a cyclone of shadows threatening to pull him under. He felt the outstretched hands of darkness wrapping around him, tightening like a vice. In that chilling moment of uncertainty, he called out, "Clara." But no sound slipped through the void. Then, like a thunderclap, a burst of light shattered the darkness. Clara's voice, fierce and resonant, carried through the chaos. "I choose to live. I choose to fight." The shadows recoiled at her declaration, as if they could feel the strength emanating from her. Jake's heart surged with hope. Clara was not lost. She was fighting back. He clawed his way through the pitch black, propelled by the urgency pulsing within him. "Clara! I'm here. I'm with you," he shouted, desperately pursuing her presence. Finally, he broke free into the light, a blinding blaze that engulfed him, warm and vibrant. He blinked, adjusting to the glare, taking in the surreal sight before him. Clara stood at the center, glowing like a beacon, the shadows swirling around her, trapped in a whirlpool of her making. The massive creature writhed on the periphery, fury dancing in its eyes. "You cannot escape your faithless past, Clara. It defines you." It roared, but Clara stood tall, unyielding, and absorbed every ounce of rage it unleashed like a shield. "No. It does not," she declared, her gaze unwavering. "That's not who I am anymore." With a deep breath, she invoked the power within her, remembering Eric, the brother she lost, the love that drove her, and the vow she made to reclaim her life. Suddenly, the light surrounding her surged, filling every crevice with warmth and brilliance. "Eric!" she shouted vividly, and the shadows screamed, their existence disintegrating in the face of her acceptance. "Clara, keep going. Fight for him!" Jake yelled, stepping beside her, pushing back through the mist that still lingered. He clasped her hand firmly, and they stood united, a force against the encroaching dark. Together they called his name again and again until it entwined like a melody through the storm, lifting the weight of Clara's burden. The shadows, once intact, now flickered like dying embers. "Release us!" they screeched. "No." Clara's voice was resolute, echoing through the remnants. "You're nothing without fear. I refuse to be tethered." With every word, the weight inside her began to lift. She was severing her ties to the past, the grip of regret loosening as the light swelled. The darkness erupted like a balloon, split and dissolved into a cloud of nothingness, leaving behind only silence. As the last echoes of their haunting cries faded, Clara collapsed to the ground, breaths ragged yet invigorated. Jake rushed to her side, worry clouding his features. "Clara! Are you okay?" Her cobalt blue eyes met his, bright and alive. I think I'm finally free," Clara whispered, clarity washing over her. Jake pulled her into a tight embrace, relief flooding through him. "You did it. You fought back." She nodded against him, the fullness of the moment wrapping around them. "Together, we can face anything." They lingered in their embrace, surrounded by the echoes of laughter and light, knowing what they faced that night would forever change their lives. The fears that once loomed now felt like mere shadows of the past, reduced to a whisper that couldn't touch the bond they had forged. In that beautiful stillness, a new dawn broke on the horizon, flooding the cabin with a soft golden glow. They stepped outside, hand in hand, knowing the fight was over, but the journey really just beginning. Clara smiled, a radiant light in her eyes. Together, they could face the untamed world that awaited. "Let us go home," Jake said, his heart swelling with hope, and as they turned to walk into their future, uncertainty floated away like the morning mist. The weight of the world was still there, but they would shoulder it side by side. The adventure wasn't over, but they were stronger together, ready to build a life unfettered by chains of the past. It was more than just love, it was the promise of tomorrow, alive in every beat of their hearts. And so they began, leaving behind the darkness, stepping boldly into the light, together forever. You need to subscribe now to catch more incredible stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to keep the algorithm alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement makes all the difference, and it's how we keep bringing you these unforgettable tales.